House Freedom Caucus faces an internal purge push. Politico. At least 2 hardliners have discussed trying to boot members who no longer meet the group's standards, according to 3 Republicans with knowledge of the talks. I'm just surprised that the House Freedom Caucus has any standards at all that they adhered to. I thought the only thing that you had to do to be a House Freedom Caucus member was just not believe that the 2020 election was stolen, believe that COVID is a Democratic hoax, and yeah, that's pretty much it. You're good to go. And tweet some crazy conspiracy theories every once in a while about one thing or another. Marjorie Taylor Greene checks all those boxes and find out why, in fact, they want her gone. Tensions inside the conservative House Freedom Caucus have reached the point that some members are floating the idea of purging colleagues from the group. At least 2 hardliners have discussed and proposed to Freedom Caucus Chair Scott Perry trying to boot members who no longer meet the group's standards, according to 3 Republicans with knowledge of the talks who spoke on condition of anonymity. I can never say that word. The lawmakers declined to name who's behind the ouster calls, underscoring the sensitivity of the situation. While the members suggesting a purge did not specify the people they want to remove, they are signaling that one target of any ejection push is Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Some in the House Freedom Caucus have focused on Greene, who's become a close ally of Kevin McCarthy, to illustrate their fears that certain group members are too aligned with GOP leaders and too outwardly certain issues. The risk of an outside-the-tent conservative becoming too friendly with the establishment isn't the only problem that the Freedom Caucus purists have identified, though. Internal Freedom Caucus critics are talking about targeting a handful of members beyond Greene, too, whom they see as violating group standards by being inactive. Yeah, Republican infighting. Yes, love it. Perry told Politico that he denied the removal requests, yet the fact that he had to illustrates the group, how the group continues to struggle with its identity since former President Donald Trump left office, not to mention the acrimony caused in the lead up to the handshake deals McCarthy made to win conservatives during January's grueling speakership battle. The speaker's race, there was some difference in opinion. The debt ceiling, there were some differences in opinion. And we had to get 80% on any major positions, any major issues, that we take positions on, said Representative Ralph Norman of South Carolina. A Freedom Caucus member referring to the threshold needed for the group to take a unified stance. On some big issues, we have not been able to get there. We're at a critical point right now, he added. As for internal concerns about Greene, Norman said he wasn't suggesting pushing her out, but replied, "She's been critical of us for a long time." Compounding that sentiment, an ugly floor fight this week between Greene and Lauren Boebert over their competing resolutions to impeach President Joe Biden. Greene confirmed a Daily Beast report that she called her Freedom colleague a little bitch on the House floor, telling reporters that the story was impressively correct. In an interview following the spat, Boebert demurred when was asked where she stands on the Freedom Caucus purge pitch. If something comes up, she said, then we'll address it. It's really unfortunate that somebody communicated the conversation that took place on the floor between herself and Greene, Boebert added, because I was willing to walk away from people wanting to stir up unnecessary drama. Oh yeah, because Boebert is suddenly so above stirring up unnecessary drama. Girl, that's your whole thing. Your middle name is unnecessary drama. Like that's why you have such the following that you have, and that's in her really red district. The reason she won is because of the drama that she constantly stirs up. So yeah, miss me with that, Lauren Boebert. She criticized reporters for focusing on pettiness rather than her impeachment proposal. I didn't leave my 4 kids and now my grandson to come up here and have cat fights just to get in squabbles. That's exactly what you did. That's exactly your whole brand. The Boebert isn't the only Freedom Caucus member Green has challenged. The Georgian has hit back at conservative colleagues who suggested a possible forced vote to oust McCarthy from the speakership after his debt deal with Biden. Anyone who would consider that option in response to the bipartisan deal vote needs to really get down to a more realistic level of thinking, Green said this month, alluding to the necessity of compromise under divided government. I'm just as conservative as they are. There's conservative fantasies and there's realities. That's the best way to say it. So we're now in a universe where Marjorie Taylor Greene, too far left. What in the hell is Marjorie Taylor Greene too far left on? I mean, it's just absolutely absurd. And Freedom Caucus members are somehow making seem like the most person in the room. How crazy the House Freedom Caucus is. And the fact that media, that we have these members of the House that are completely just off the rails to the point that they command so much political power, majority in the House. It's really concerning just how much power these members have. And the fact that Kevin McCarthy gave these people concessions at all in his bid to become speaker should ring alarm bells in every American's head. Because if they had a larger majority, they would be doing a lot more damage than they are now. Because McCarthy has to appeal to so many different groups to get anything done. The House advanced politically. So if I was the Republican Party right now, and I'm not in the business of giving advice to Republicans, but if I was, you'd be trying to win against these House Freedom Caucus members. The furthest right faction of the party is hurting the party politically at large the most. They're hurting the party in the most visceral, tangible way that is seen every single day in Washington. And I would be focusing on ousting these House Freedom Caucus members so that the loudest and least reasonable people in the Republican House don't suck up all the media attention and don't suck up all of the air out of the room. And then you get the media and people paying attention to the crazy furthest right members, and that drives away people from the Republican Party at large. And even when the more normal Republicans, if they still exist, even when they try to kind of walk back some of these crazier elements, fringe elements of the party, it's the damage has already been done, and people are already associate the Republican Party with crazies like in the House Freedom Caucus. So yeah, just really goes to show the state of American politics, where purporter Marjorie Taylor Greene is now not far right enough for certain members of the House Freedom Caucus. Just crazy. Just absolutely crazy.